Hello, everyone. My name is Gail Whitlow. My nation is Mohawk. My clan is Bear Clan. I am Haudenosaunee from Six Nations of the Grand River Territory. I'm here right now in my store, Ancestral Voices Healing Center. Here in my store, I have crystals. I have different types of herbal medicines. I have a lot of different things pertaining to health and healing. Why health and healing? Well, back in the day, we lived in very close to the natural environment. And in the natural environment, we were very connected to the land. And the land spoke to us, and the animals spoke to us, and it was us who took the traits of the animals as well. So, a bear has certain traits, and so those that were similar to the bear, they belonged to the bear clan. Turtles had certain traits, and so the clan system actually came from living in nature. And there was one vision I had that I didn't understand it, and sometimes I still wonder why I saw it, but even though I have I have my views. So all of a sudden, I saw there was three warriors, and these warriors were dressed like they were hunters, and they were moving through the land so fast, like from one end of the field, they moved through that field with such speed and such grace. But what I noticed about them was their movements. So you know how right now I'm sitting and I'm chit-chatting with you and I don't have much expression. These characters, as they were hunting, they were like moving. They were in tune with everything that was going on around them. And so I saw that and I go, what? How does that pertain to anything today? And so I come to understand that because we were so connected to that natural environment, that natural world, that we actually had those traits within ourselves too. So as we were carrying on our duties, we actually looked like we were a bear doing these things, or we looked like we were a deer, or we actually were so close to our natural world. And of course, we didn't spend our time indoors. We spent our time outdoors because our communities depended on food, and we depended on our hunting and gathering skills, and we depended on so many things to make our communities, keep our communities strong and healthy. So we have kind of put a different spin on that in today's world. Now we live in an indoor environment. We're not as connected to that natural world as we once were. So our mannerisms and everything have also changed. One of the reasons I got into this field was because I wanted to demystify plants. I would always hear, oh, you got to get Indian medicine for this, you got to get Indian medicine for that. And I'm going, Indian medicine? Well, that's just herbs. So I had gone out into, the bush with some of our elders, and I learned quite a bit while I was, doing that. But what I didn't understand all the time was how to use these medicines safely, because sometimes they didn't speak English that well, and they would say, oh, this is for the blood. Okay, so what about the blood? Because I knew there was high blood pressure, low blood pressure. I knew there was so many different things. And so I also took formal education, and I took a phytotherapy class, and through this we learned everything from biology to I don't know. It was a very intense course, and I'm really glad that I took that, because I got to see not only our perspective but also the Western perspective, and so dosing requirements and all of those different things. And I got to learn, how a biologist would look at plants, and I got to understand our medicines in a different way. So when I went to put this into action, uh, I had a solid base behind me, because I know that many of our pharmaceutical medicines are derived from our natural medicines, and I wanted to make sure that I could speak from a place of knowing as opposed to a place of reading in books. Uh, I had to then figure out a way to make these medicines available. And so we have a lot of taboos about our medicines, and some of them, when you're trying to do this business, it could hinder you. And I was always worried that, I was going to offend someone. But through it all, I did talk to some of our traditional people, and I found some comfort in knowing that this was all mandated in the teachings of our ancestors. They talked about a time when things were going to be different, and there was going to be changes, and and especially the part about charging for medicines. And so I got a lot of really good advice, and one of the teachings I got was, well, Gail, look at it this way, and this is from another traditional elder. I have to go into the mountains. In order to do that, I have to have gas in my car. In order to make the medicine, I have to have water. I have to have, these things. And they said, and if I don't have these things, I can't make the medicine. So if I don't have money to put it in my gas tank and to, buy these things, then I can't make medicine. So there has to be a charge, or there has to be some way to compensate the fact that you're going to spend this time going up and picking the medicine, and B, what it takes to put this medicine together, and C, you're putting all of your energy into it. And if you get a tobacco tie, that's not feeding your family, so your family might suffer. And so I took this to heart, and I felt better about it. And then another elder told me, he said, think about in days gone by, if somebody needed your services, they would have to come and get you. They would take you to their home. They would give you a place to stay. They would feed you. They would have to bring you home. And then, how much would that cost in today's standards? And so all of these things help me to, I guess, understand that I could fulfill my goal without stepping on many boundaries. One of the things that I did initially was I would put my medicines in paper bags, because I knew that was the right way to do it. But then people would open my bags, and all of these things, they wanted to smell, touch, taste, and everything. So I had to change my packaging thing to address the environment. Now, one thing I do that a lot of people don't maybe do that aren't native is I smudge my medicines all the time. So here we're constantly smudging the bags, and we're talking to the medicines, and asking them to help the people. So we combine both the today's aspect of knowing, as well as our traditional way, because we can't get away from the way that our traditional elders and ancestors worked with medicine. I've heard it say, some people say, oh, well, the medicines aren't going to work, but that hasn't been the case. I can pretty well vouch that the medicines do as they're supposed to do, whether they're in a paper bag or whether they're packaged in another format, because it's all about intention. When you're working with medicines, you have to have an intention. Otherwise, you're not going to get the full value from your medicine. So the first thing you have to value is your health. what do you need these medicines for? And a lot of times, if you go to the doctor, you'll only have 5 minutes, and the doctor will take those concerns, whatever your main concern is, and they'll deal with your main concern, and everything else, well, they'll tell you you have to come back later because you only have 5 minutes, you know. Um, and it's kind of similar a little bit in our medicine too, because we have to focus first on main concern. So what is it that you want to change about your health? You know, what is it that you're experiencing? What symptoms do you want to overcome? What is your main concern? Because that's where we start first. So we'll take that and we'll either do some dowsing or find some way to pick the medicine that might best suit you, and then you're going to try that medicine. So it's like there's more involved, because now you take responsibility for your own health. You're the one that has to make the medicine. You're the one that has to talk to the medicine. You're the one that has to stir the medicine. You're the one that has to make that initial contact with the medicine and you know, start to ingest it. You're the one that has to have faith in this medicine as well. So what this is doing is empowering you again to be your best doctor, because only you can know those feelings that you're feeling deep inside, and you're the one that knows if there's a change or there's not a change. One of the things that you have to, I guess, discern is how much medicine to take, because these medicines are very powerful, meaning that less is best in most cases. So you start with a standard dose as opposed to a dose that you don't go to the strongest first, what I'm trying to say. So you would take a medicine and you would just introduce it to your system gently, see how your system reacts, and then you adjust the dose accordingly. One of the things I notice sometimes if you get medicine made is it's too strong. And when it's too strong, sometimes it scares you, because all of a sudden your body starts to show symptoms, and sometimes you don't want to go through the symptoms. But if you start gently, then it will gently help your body to detoxify, and it will be a little bit gentler on you as well. So you want to introduce yourself slowly. So again, this is an interesting time, because now we have to really realize that once we start to take this medicine internally, there are a lot of times there's more uses than just internally that we get. So for instance, I'll take plantain as an example. Plantain is something that you can use internally, you can use externally, you can use in a bath. Many other ones you can use also as a smudge. Like many of these medicines you can use in many different ways. So taking responsibility for your health is a way of the new being, because you have the instinct, and you're starting to empower more of your being, because you have that you have the keys to the kingdom when it comes to your own health. You determine whether you get better or whether you don't. And a lot of times it's that spiritual connection that these plants have had that also help you to interplay with your level of health and healing. So, you know, at another time we can talk about how many things come into play, how you can use many things together. For instance, you would use sound healing, you would use light, you would use crystals, you would use medicine, depending on the length of or the type of healing that you're looking for. There's a lot of different things to incorporate. So I really encourage you to try, new things like Reiki and, all of these different energy therapies that you may have heard about but have never been kind of nervous to try. I would encourage you because they help you to understand health and healing in a new way. So with that, I'd like to thank you for taking your time and listening today. I know that I could go into many different levels and realms with you, but that was kind of like an introduction to healing, I guess, from a different point of view. We just have to recognize always, though, that healing comes from within. We are connected to more than we more than we relate to a lot of times. We are connected to that spiritual source. We are connected to that universal source, and it's we are also connected to those ancestors that are all packaged together, and we don't really have to worry too much about them separately because they come all packaged in one to make us be the best that we can be. Yawagoa.